Q&A feature you see either on the bottom of your screen, or if you're using the app, you'll see the Q&A feature if you tap the screen, and then you can type your question into the Q&A. And without any further ado, I think I'm going to turn it back over to James. Thank you very much for attending, and thank you to all of our presenters for being with us today.
All right, thank you, Stephen, and welcome. This is the webinar on why New York State is the #1 destination for international students to study in the United States. And I'm gonna share my screen and get going. I'm James Schaefer from Touro College, and we are here with representatives from Buffalo State, from ESF, and from Pace University as well. And excuse me for one instant while I get the correct show here. Okay, here we go. Sorry for the delay. Okay, here we are. Okay, so welcome to the presentation. Study New York is an association of over 50 colleges and universities in New York State. And you can visit our website at any time at studynewyork.us and explore the different colleges of New York State. This is a large and diverse state. It takes us 7.5 hours to drive from one end of the state to the other. We have New York City, of course, but we also are a very diverse state with some of the most beautiful mountain scenery and gorges and beautiful skiing in the state. And you'll be hearing from Trisha Harrett and Thomas Carter, Kelly Moran, and myself today. And I'll put this contact information up at the end as well, so you can get in contact with us if you're interested. So welcome to the show. You are learning about New York State. We are a state that loves immigrants. We love students from overseas. We are a state of sanctuary cities that protects and thrives because of our immigrants and our students from overseas. And I'd like to introduce to you Trisha Harrett from Buffalo State to talk about Western New York and the Southern Tier.
Thanks, James. So like you said, my name is Trisha, and I want to tell you why I love New York State. I was born in New York State. I was able to travel outside of New York to study undergrad and study in Spain for undergrad, and then come back and do my graduate work in New York State, and successfully been working in the field for a number of years. We've got today's presentation broken down throughout New York State. There are several universities and colleges, 2-year, 4-year schools. There's also the opportunity to study English as a second language. And we're very, very excited for the opportunity for you to just get a small glimpse of what New York State has to offer you. We've broken it up in regions today, and I get the Western New York, Buffalo region. There's many, many campuses in the New York State area. And so I want to focus just a little bit on Buffalo because we're the second largest city next to New York City. Very robust city and urban area. It's a wonderful place to come if you want to be in New York State. We have opportunities for you to work on campus or do CPT or OPT after graduation, and we just wanted to share a little bit of highlights. So we'll move right along. Next. The two universities that are part of Study New York in Buffalo are the University of Buffalo and Buffalo State, the one that I'm a part of. I want to talk about Irfan for a minute, who you can see on the screen. Irfan came from China, and he studied here in computer information systems. Irfan decided he wanted to get a leadership role on campus and became the president of the International Student Organization. That's an opportunity for you from transitioning from your secondary school to come to any school in New York State and jump into an organization. There's lots of things to get involved in and to build your resume to show that you had a leadership position. So I wanted to mention that as one of the reasons to study in New York. We'll move right along. There's also opportunities to do civic engagement, service learning, applied learning, whatever you want to call it, where you're getting out in the community. This group helped volunteer for a day of service. All of our universities in New York State have opportunities to do community service, to get engaged, to meet those in the community. And a lot of times it's embedded in your program. So you have the opportunity to be out there and meet the community, improve language skills if that's something that you're looking for with the intensive language programs, as well as give back. That's always a good thing. A lot of the lifelong friendships are resulted from our community service days, where people are out in the community volunteering and they are working alongside another student or faculty member, and they really get these strong bonds started. So that's an option that I'd like to mention as well. We'll move on. Fashion. New York City is one of the fashion capitals of the world. So at Buffalo State, we have the opportunity to do 3 years at Buffalo State in fashion, and this is a shot from our runway. With that, you can do your last year at the New York Fashion Institute in New York City and do an internship in New York City. So that's an option at Buffalo State. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Berlincia. Berlincia came from the Caribbean, and she was able to do her OPT after she graduated here in the Buffalo area at David Bridal and make all those bridal dreams come true, and have an option to just work on her skills in fashion, and a little bit of the design that she did in the classroom is something that she was able to see some really, really big designers there at that venue. So that was an option for her to have. So I just wanted to mention that. And the next slide is opportunities to share food and cuisine. So we have an international club on all of our campuses. They're all called different things, but it's an opportunity for you to share different cultures and different foods. And there's opportunities for you to really show who you are and where you come from. And it's something that our students at all of our universities are looking and craving for. Moving on, I wanted to show you these gentlemen. The one with the hat in the coat is Mustafa. Mustafa recently graduated, and so did Sharma. They're both computer majors, and they've been able to land jobs during COVID-19 in the computer field. Some for private companies, some for a corporation in the area, and that's something that we're very, very glad about. I just want to mention really quick in passing, the Data Science and Analytic Master's Program is something that we've got CPT embedded, and then many of our students do OPT when they graduate. So that's one of our highlighted programs today. And next. So it's not just Buffalo that you can go to. You can go to the areas of Rochester. These are the 3 schools we wanted to feature: Brockport, the Rochester Institute of Technology, and Oswego. Some are liberal arts colleges, and one is technology. The next slide highlights Brockport. Brockport is a very diverse school. It's very close to the heart of the city of Rochester, and they have very strong international programs and good scholarships. Oswego is right on the lake, Lake Ontario. It's a beautiful campus. You can walk to the water's edge, and it's a great opportunity for students that are interested in studying in New York. They have a robust amount of scholarships for international students. Moving to the southern part of New York, where we just touch and kiss upon the border of Pennsylvania, we have Geneseo and Alfred State and Broome Community College. One of the interesting things about Broome Community College is it's a 2-year school where you get an associate's degree, so you're eligible to do OPT at that, and then you can go ahead and transfer to a 4-year school and do OPT again. Next. Geneseo on this slide and the next one talk about opportunities for their international students to study abroad and go other places as well. Geneseo is a very strong, small town. You can get everything that you can imagine from Walmart, and they have a lot of international opportunities. We'll move on. Alfred State, I just want to mention, has interior design, and they have opportunities to study abroad and to have internships. And moving on, we're wrapping up with just saying that New York is a diverse place. We have people from many different countries that living here, and we have opportunities for you to not get too homesick because you'll see something of your own culture here. My last slide I want to talk about is that New York has the opportunity to have all 4 seasons. Growing up in New York, it's beautiful in the summer, not too hot. Beautiful fall leaves right now. We have the spring flowers that are coming out, and we get a little bit of snow in the winter, but it's beautiful. So I want to stop here and thank you for coming, and I want to say, let's continue and travel with Tom.
All right, thank you so much, Trisha. That was wonderful to hear about the western side of the state. So for my portion of the session, I really want to introduce you all to the area called Central New York, but also the area above Central New York known as the North Country too. So here on this slide, you can see a list of some of the universities. My university in particular that I come from is ESF. I brought a little logo here for you to see too. But we represent many different universities in this area. And if we go to the next slide, you can see some of the additional universities located in the North Country as well too. You'll even see ESF listed there too, because we are in both locations. And Jim, if you can take me to the next slide. So one of the best things about this area that I really want to brag about is that we really represent some of the most beautiful campuses, and they're at elite universities inside the state of New York. And I do think this is representative of all of the state of New York as well too. In this picture here, you can even see my university, ESF, with all the different green, the beautiful air, the beautiful sky. And this is smack dab in the middle of a city, which is right on the back side of this university. So you can see the very traditional American stereotype universities in this area. If we go to the next slide. I also want to represent or showcase this slide here so you can all see a little bit more about the area of Central New York. We are about 4 hours, maybe 5 hours from New York City, but we're also just a couple hours drive from many other larger cities as well. Trisha's area is represented here as Niagara Falls on the western side of New York. New York City you can see down below. But New York itself is very close to Boston, Philadelphia, Toronto, Montreal. It's very much a regionally located area. And so many students who come to our area don't always just stay here. They end up traveling, whether it's on weekends or on breaks, and they get a chance to see a large portion of not only New York, but the entire United States. Jim, can we go to the next slide? So one of the top things I always say about the Central New York area is we have the best of both worlds, to quote Hannah Montana. You'll see in this slide here, this is one of the cities located in Central New York, Syracuse, New York. This is where I live right now. It's a small city. It's the 5th largest city in New York State, but it does have plenty to do. So whether you're looking for large entertainment, sporting events, concerts, whatever it may be, you will find it all here. I even brag that we have some of the best food in all of New York too. If we go to the next slide, you'll be able to see another city, which isn't exactly in central New York, but it's very close and very emblematic of the same style. This is Albany, New York. Again, another small city, but with plenty to do. And one of the best things about these cities is not only do you have the city urban life that you might be looking for, but if you go to the next slide, you also, if you just travel maybe 5-10 minutes outside the city, the area is covered in forests, waterfalls, lakes, and mountains too. So coming from ESF, my university, we're the College of Environmental Science and Forestry, and a lot of our students want to get outside and really explore this area of central New York and the North Country. It's a beautiful area. You can see here one of our state parks where you can go hiking endless amounts of miles and kilometers of hiking here. And on our next slide, you can see just one of the waterfalls. This one is called Taganic Falls. In addition to Niagara Falls, which I'm sure most of you have heard of, we have hundreds upon hundreds of other waterfalls in the area. Some are a 5-minute drive, some are 1-hour drives from wherever you may be located. But you can even see the beautiful leaves in this area right here. Our next slide, you'll be able to see the lakes that are emblematic of this area too. There's a big portion of this area known as the Finger Lakes because it looks like a bunch of fingers hanging down. But those are only some of the small, or some of the other lakes in the area. There's so many more too. There's a lot of water, a lot of natural resources, a lot of natural beauty. And then lastly, it would be very remiss if I didn't mention the Adirondack State Park, which is the largest state park in the world. And it's actually larger than many other US national parks. It has many mountains, lakes, rivers, waterfalls, and you can just see again some of that additional natural beauty too. And most students who do visit our region and do study in our region will have a chance to visit this state park and really get outside and explore the natural beauty of upstate New York while still being able to have that city life of Syracuse or Albany or Ithaca or wherever it may be. And then finally being able to take long weekends to some of the even larger metropolis cities like New York City. Now, one of the students I really want to talk to you about, Anish Kurtain. Anish is an alumni of ESF, one that we're really proud of here. Anish, when he originally came to us, really was looking for an opportunity to get involved inside a New York State or New York University. So he came to ESF. He got lots of different research opportunities. That's one thing I really want to focus on, that while you're at universities in New York State, and especially ESF, there's going to be opportunities to get involved. I know Trisha talked about some of the clubs and organizations, but there's going to be working opportunities, whether it's on campus or near campus through OPT or CPT. There's going to be chances to get involved with the different research that our faculty are doing. And our faculty are doing research all over the world. Anish in this situation was actually doing research at one of our local lakes and discovering the different type of residue that resides at the bottom. Another unique part of Anish's story, however, though, is after he graduated from ESF, because he was located in New York State, he was able to travel to other universities to find graduate programs that fit his needs. He actually ended up at University of Buffalo, not too far away from where Trisha lives right now. And so it's just another situation where when you do come to study at New York for an undergraduate program, you're going to have access then to all their graduate programs upon graduation. And I can even share too that Anish got fully funded for his graduate program. So he has a full ride for while he studies his PhD. Jim, can we go to the next slide? Another one of our students, which I definitely want to brag about, Wenju Liu. Wenju Liu came to us in her final year for studying at ESF. And after her final year, she realized that the teachers and faculty here were so special and so welcoming that she wanted to stay for her PhD program. So she applied to stay, and just like Anish, she was able to find fully funded opportunity right at our university too. Wenju, one of her biggest surprises was realizing the American style of teaching while she was here. She really enjoyed being a part of the learning process and really engaging directly in a lab experience, directly with hands-on materials too. After she graduates from her PhD, Wenju is really looking forward to applying for OPT and STEM OPT. and potentially working in either Syracuse, the city, or New York City. And for this slide here, we want to show a short video, so we'll see if we can get it to work, of another one of our students, Abi Mehra, who was a graduating student not too long ago and became our graduation speaker just for us. And I want to show his experience being a new international student at ESF in New York State.
Commencement.
We'll give it a quick second to load up here.
All these other students move in with their families, parents carrying giant boxes full of college supplies and blankets. I instinctively decided to jump into helping everyone move in, despite being a freshman myself. In many ways, that day has become emblematic of my time in this country and as a student of ESF. It was here, starting from that very fateful day, that we have forged friendships that will outlast our health and fortunes. I'm an Indian. I came to this college an Indian. I am as Indian as it gets in the way I speak, in what I eat, and how I look. However, the truth is I stand here on this august podium as an Okie first, as a grateful student of ESF first, giving a voice to my class of 2017 first. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot begin to tell you how this wonderful community, the one you see in all green in front of me and right here by my side, welcomed me and assimilated me as one of their own. Every year in India, we celebrate the festival of Diwali in the month of October. For my first year at ESF, we celebrated that festival right on campus. For every single year that I sent away from my family, I was welcomed in the homes of my friends Chris and Luke to celebrate Christmas, with gifts waiting for me under the Christmas tree. Every time I got homesick during those festive times, my friend Luke's mother ensured that I had my plate full of that amazing Thanksgiving turkey. When I missed my mother, which I have relentlessly, my friend Faria brought me some of her mother's finest home-cooked food. When I needed a place, my friend Baba's house was like my own. If it wasn't for that love, I would not have been standing here today delivering this address. Imperfect as we may be, we have each been shown this kind of love that kept us going, sometimes even when we deserved it least. Look at those who have supported us. It is our families. Today, not only we are graduating. Today, when we lift our caps in the air for the final hurrah, our families' aspirations graduate with us. For Dr. Rajneesh Mehra and Mrs. Pooja Mehra, a whole life's mission concludes. Thank you, sir. Thanks, Ammi.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Jim. So I like to echo Abi's words in paraphrasing too, that New York universities and the ESF and Trisha's university and Jim's university and Kelly's university you're going to hear about are welcoming diverse areas. They're universities where we want to make sure that you have a second home. So just like Abi, many of us have our own Thanksgiving celebrations where we will invite you to our campuses for special meals. Maybe you'll get invited home from another student, whether it's Christmas maybe too, or maybe you just need a home cooked meal and you need a friend too. Within the central New York area and all of New York, we want to make sure all of our international students are welcome, feeling at home, and very much comfortable with where they are and supported so that they can succeed and make it to that graduation stage. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly so we can hear a little bit more about the Hudson Valley area.
Thanks, Thomas. So hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Moran, and definitely following Thomas's student is a tough act to follow, but I will do my best. I represent Pace University, which is in a unique situation. We do have two campuses. One is in the Hudson Valley, which I'll be speaking about now. And then a little bit later, James is going to highlight our New York City campus as well. So to start in the Hudson Valley, we're moving a little bit more south on the New York City map that you see here at the bottom. This slide and the next slide indicate some of the universities that are represented in the Hudson Valley area. For the purpose of the presentation, I'm going to highlight 3 of them just to give you a little bit of indication as to what you can find in the Hudson Valley area. Next slide, please. So the first one is our Culinary Institute of America. This is a specialty type school focusing, of course, on the culinary arts. As you can see, they have a beautiful campus, particularly in the fall season. You can see all of the different colors, all of the different geographical locations that you have access to in Hudson Valley and just New York in general. Next slide, please. We also have the University of Albany, obviously looking a little bit different than the picture I've seen in the slide previous, but Albany is located more so in a city in New York. I know everyone likes to think New York City is the only city there is, but as Trisha and Thomas have mentioned, there are many cities throughout the area that students are able to still get that city experience while also being outside of the city itself in New York State. Next slide, please. In terms of Pace University, I wanted to highlight these particular photos just to showcase how close we are to public transportation and different cities in the area. Pace Pleasantville in particular is located less than a mile away from the Metro North train station, so students are able to use that to take the 40-minute train ride into the city, New York City that is, or they're able to go elsewhere in the state as well. So you're able to travel throughout the Hudson Valley area and throughout New York State as well, wherever you choose to go to school. Next slide. These pictures in particular also showcase just the opportunities that you have outside of class while you're in the Hudson Valley area. In particular, these photos were given to me by an alum of New Paltz, showcasing Lake Winnesaca, and that is a big opportunity for students. That's something that they like to do outside of the academic nature of their universities. Next slide. I'm also going to represent Long Island, as this is where I grew up. Like Trisha, I am a native New Yorker and grew up on the island itself. These showcase some of the different universities that we have available on Long Island. Similar to Hudson Valley, everything's within about a 2-hour journey from New York City proper, so you have access to all of the great opportunities of New York City while also being a little bit outside of the city and getting to experience more of New York State itself. Next slide. Since we talked a lot about geographical features throughout New York State, I definitely wanted to highlight that Long Island has access to different beaches throughout the area. So this is a little bit different than my colleagues in that you have access to the ocean and you're able to get a little bit more summer activities in by visiting the beaches of Long Island. Next slide. In this slide in particular, I wanted to showcase graduation photos from all over the different universities represented on Long Island. I know right now you're considering where you want to apply to university, but I also think it's a lot of fun to think about where you're going to be 4 years from now at graduation. As you can see in all of these different photos, it showcases all of the friends that you're going to have the opportunity to make. And on the caps, all of the things that you're going to be able to accomplish both inside and outside the classroom. Each of us can talk to specific programs that you'll have the opportunity to pursue at all of our different specialty institutions or things that we excel at. But really it's on you, the student, to take advantage of all of those opportunities, not only academically, but personally and professionally as well. Next slide, please. Highlighting the professional nature, this is something in particular that Pace University prides itself on, is focusing on a professionally based education. So not only are you learning things in the classroom, but you're taking those opportunities and you're applying them to your real life professions. You're building up your CV and you're taking advantage of CPT and OPT opportunities to complete experiences that are going to help you later in life. New York City and New York State in general is home to quite a few different companies, international companies, local companies, what have you. So you have a lot of different experiences that you can choose from in order to build up your CV and build up your professional knowledge to accomplish whatever goals that you see fit for your future. Next slide, please. So this is one of our students in particular. Jill is the one in the teal sweater. She was our student assistant here at Pace University International Admissions for 2 years, and we absolutely loved having her. She was a Master's in Information Systems student, so particularly when students think about Pace University, they tend to think our business programs, because that is what we are best known for. But we also have a very robust computer science department, and Jill is a great indication of that. She came in as a master's student and immediately hit the ground running, taking advantage of all those outside the classroom opportunities as well as inside the classroom opportunities. So during her time here, she was super helpful, not only as a student assistant, but also as a student mentor. She would work with incoming students who were completing their applications and had questions about what it's like to move to New York. And she was able to act as an ambassador, kind of helping students transition into their life far away from home, working through mitigating any homesickness and adapting to their new life here in the States. During her time here, she was also able to complete a number of different internships. Database CRM analyst for the New York City Department of Sanitation was the one that she did choose to highlight because it was one that led to her full-time position in Virginia after graduation. Jill, I also wanted to highlight because she actually received her position after graduating in January. She received it in March, so right around when quarantine started happening for COVID, and she was able to utilize her OPT time and actually just received her H-1B confirmation earlier today. So we are very, very excited for Jill. And she showcases exactly what a PACE student should be, exactly what an international student should strive to be, in taking advantage of all of the opportunities that you have available to you, regardless of what campus you choose or what university you choose, and making the most of your time here in the United States. So with that, I will turn it over to James for the next slide.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. And thanks for that presentation about the Hudson Valley and Long Island. I will say that the beaches of Long Island are some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, hands down. And the area in the Catskills that you saw is one of the most beautiful areas you can visit. I went swimming in that lake that she showed near New Paltz, and it's just a stunningly beautiful part of New York State. So moving on to New York City, there's really no need to tell you what's great about New York City. A lot of this presentation is about telling you what's great about the rest of our state. And then on top of that, you have this anchor of New York City that is just a job generator and one of the most exciting places on earth to be. And it's amazing that you can reach New York City from all parts of the state very easily. If you're in Long Island or Hudson Valley or Albany, you're just jumping on a train or a bus and getting here very easily. And there are trains and buses coming from Syracuse and Rochester and Buffalo and Binghamton to New York City. So it's just the best state that you can consider being in if you're coming to the United States. It's a state with 4 seasons, and on top of the great Western New York, Central New York, Adirondacks, and Hudson Valley and Long Island, you've got this fantastic anchor, which is one of the greatest cities in the world, which is New York City. So here you see some of the fantastic colleges and universities in New York City. Fashion Institute of Technology is part of the SUNY system. It's just a gem of a place. You heard how there was a Buffalo State student who was able to start her fashion design program at Buffalo State and then finished with a 1-year internship with FIT, so that's a great partnership. Baruch College has a great MBA program, as does my college, Touro College. Marymount and Manhattan College are very close, up just in the Bronx area. So it's for someone who wants sort of a classic campus, but right at the edge of New York City up in the Bronx. Okay, and then you see we have St. John's University, which used to be a soccer powerhouse. They actually won a national championship in soccer a few years ago. St. Francis College in Brooklyn, New York Institute of Technology, and Touro College of Graduate School of Technology, 2 great choices for undergraduate or graduate technology programs. NYIT is located in the Columbus Circle area, and I'll talk more about Touro College in a little bit. And of course, you know all the iconic pictures of New York City. I was just on campus on Tuesday, so I was in Midtown, and I can tell you Midtown is coming back, and everybody's wearing their masks and being safe, and you can see the restaurants reopening and life coming back to New York City. It's a fantastic thing to see. Pace University has a campus in Lower Manhattan, right by the Brooklyn Bridge. I know it's very convenient for their students to be living in Brooklyn and having a little less expensive housing than they would have in Manhattan, and they can just jump on the subway from Brooklyn and get to the Pace University campus there, right in Lower Manhattan. I would guess there's even some students who live across the Brooklyn Bridge and ride their bike or walk to campus from Brooklyn to Pace University. Touro College is my college. We're in Midtown Manhattan at West 31st Street, right by Penn Station and Madison Square Garden, where the New York Knicks play. The features I like of our school are really the technical degrees. And here's Abubakar from Burkina Faso. He was able to get a very nice CPT job with Sisense software. They're about to help place him in a nice OPT job. In case you don't know, CPT is curricular practical training. So these are internships within your field that you can get while you study. So you're studying and working at the same time. And OPT is optional practical training. So this is the postgraduate employment that you can get. If the program is classified as STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, mathematics, it gets a 2-year extension. So in effect, STEM OPT is a 3-year job after your graduation. So we had an alumni network meeting where a representative from a tech placement firm called Robert Half Technology was speaking. And at that meeting, he informed us that the effective unemployment rate in the technology field was negative, meaning when jobs became available, there were not enough people to fill them. Obviously, things have changed in March, but even since March, we're finding that our tech students are finding opportunities to get jobs in technology for their OPT because it's such a robust job market right now, with opportunities often to be working from home digitally. So Abubakar was in the Information Systems Master of Science program, and its concentration was database administration and data analytics. So in Abubakar, the job I was featuring was CPT. So these two students got great jobs on the optional practical training. So they graduated. So Husnal got a job as a software support specialist at IBM in Poughkeepsie in the Hudson Valley. And Pratik, also from India, got a job in the fintech industry with a company located on Wall Street called Urban FT. And in the technology field, they don't really care about the name of your university. They care about the skills that you picked up at that university. So if you can be going to one of these New York State colleges, perhaps you haven't heard of them, but really research what's going on with these tech schools in New York. In Pratik's case, part of his interview process was a 2-day take-home coding test. And he did fantastic on that take-home coding test and got offered the job. And he's still there working remotely while that company shut down its headquarters and had everybody working online from home. And I know if you look at these other tech schools around the state as well, you'll see that RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, is known for a fantastic co-op program. And I believe most of the other tech schools that you see here will have opportunities for CPT and OPT. And Robert Half salary surveys come out every year. So you can see some nice attractive salaries in tech. And then the kicker here, the amazing thing is that New York City salaries in technology are actually over 40% higher than the salaries you see here on average. UX UI design is a very hot field right now. You can contact me at Touro College if you're interested in that. Data analyst, data science. You heard that you can be talking with Buff State about data science. And here we have data analytics at Touro College. And one interesting thing is once you become a member of the community of a college, even if you're just checking out a bunch of schools, you'll probably find that they have a lot of free online webinars in the field. So for example, we're offering usually 3 or 4 free online professional development webinars every semester. Here was one we had on cybersecurity awareness. Our school has a pretty good healthcare program. So we're connecting a lot of niche programs. So now we have a Master of Science in Healthcare Management at our School of Business. We have this Healthcare Cybersecurity Certificate program, and we're expanding our data analytics program. So it's a good idea when you're exploring the colleges and universities of New York to really talk with the admissions advisors and really have a chat about your career goals and think about some of these new niche programs that really can translate into a great career and even a high paying career. So for example, at Touro College, if you're looking to be getting into tech at the undergraduate level, you could start with us in digital multimedia design, or you could start with us in the IT area, information technology and networking. Then in your senior year, you could join our Technology Merit Fast Track, where in your senior year, 9 credits that you're earning towards your undergraduate degree are also 9 credits that you're earning towards your master's degree. So those who are digital multimedia design join the fast track for web and multimedia design, Master of Arts. Those in information technology and networking join the fast track for information systems. And for information systems, you're looking to enter the world of data analytics, cybersecurity, software engineering, or project management. And again, New York State is New York City, and it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. I grew up myself near Geneseo in Western New York State, and have been all over the state. And when I'm traveling the rest of the country, I just know that New York is my favorite place to be. So thanks for your time. And we're going to give everyone a chance to maybe, well, just one more little quick story. When you talk about New York being home to people from all languages and cultures, Jackson Heights, Queens is one of the most diverse zip codes or postal codes in the entire world. They did a study and they found that there are 167 known languages spoken in Jackson Heights, Queens. And what's interesting about coming and studying in New York City is you can find your culture. You can find, if you're coming from India, you're going to find 2 great neighborhoods with lots of Indian restaurants. Whatever language you're speaking from India, you'll find people from your region. So fine, when you're feeling a little homesick, you can go find your nice Southern Indian vegetarian restaurant if you're coming from the south of India. But New York is so big that if you say, you know what, I just want to be living and away from my culture so I can feel like I'm part of New York, it's easy to escape from your culture also and get out and explore the rest of the diversity of New York. So I think we're doing okay on time. I don't know if any of the other presenters have any stories about how welcoming their campus is to international students. You could raise your hand or open up your mic and your camera and just tell us about what's going on with your campus to show that you're welcoming to international students. All right, so I think what we'll do then, we'll move on to the question and answer period.
That's a great idea, James.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for that great presentation. I have a couple of questions up in the queue that I would like to field to the group. So the first, Trisha earmarked this one. She said, the question is, what is New York State doing to reduce the spread of COVID and how is it going? So Trisha, if you'd like to take us through that.
Sure, and I thank you for answering because it's something that's on our mind constantly. We're very thankful that we have a strong leader, Governor Cuomo, that is overseeing our COVID response. He is very vigilant and very proactive in what he's doing. So right now at universities in New York State, there is a threshold of there can only be a certain number of on-campus cases before it's 100% virtual learning. Many of our campuses are hybrid, so there is only a certain number of students that come to class. The class sizes are greatly reduced. They're very large classrooms where people come in and they are sanitizing it down, they're wearing masks, they have to be 6 feet apart, and they're very actively monitoring it. At SUNY schools, we have this app on our phone that we have to report every day and take our temperature and answer a series of questions. And then we get a circle that's green if we're all good to go and can be on campus. And when students come in the classroom, they have to show their phone that they registered and then they got a green light. Faculty and staff were required to report in daily as well and take our temperature checks if we're coming to campus. So they have all those safety measures. At private universities, they are doing similar things as well. So they're doing that very actively. As far as once Thanksgiving hits, they are expecting, you know, the cold and flu season to maybe have a little bit more illness. So most of our universities are going 100% online between that and the holidays. So most of us are starting in February this spring. So that will give extra time for sanitizing and cleaning, and we're all praying for really good health and for the vaccine to come very soon. Please, if anyone else wants to jump in if I've missed something.
I can quickly add a few things with New York City, and in our case in New York City, yes, it's Governor Andrew Cuomo and the Mayor Bill de Blasio. They've been working well together. As you know, New York early on in the pandemic was one of the hot spots, but New York City and New York State did so well listening to the health professionals and the scientists that we actually got to a point where New York State was requiring people coming from certain other states that had an outbreak to quarantine as they arrived in New York for 14 days. So it's been a great turnaround. You can now go to New York and dine outside at restaurants. It's very festive, and I've walked along some of the streets that you would expect to be the most crowded with the outdoor restaurants, but you can see that the safety protocols were in place, and all the restaurant staff were wearing masks and requiring anybody waiting to go a far distance away. So Tuesday, I mentioned I went into campus. I have the option of working from home or on campus now anytime I want. The subway was fairly empty. Everybody was spaced out. Everybody was wearing a mask. And on the street, everybody was getting to work, but still you could see the masks on everybody. So does anybody else want to add something else about their campus?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in here and share a little about what ESF is doing too. Because on our campus, we actually are very proud in sharing that we have 0 cases since the start of the semester. And so, and I do think that's emblematic of a lot of different campuses all across New York State too. We've done a very strong job of ensuring success upon all of our students' arrivals. Many 14-day quarantines, mask wearing is required on our campus, as is other campuses too. And we, just like Jim said too, we monitor everyone coming from every country, but also other states within the United States too. We want to make sure that anyone traveling to our areas is very safe, taken care of too. In addition, our campus has done multiple testing, and I believe many other campuses have done that as well too. We actually required all of our students to have a test, and we are going to continue requiring tests as we go along as well. So we are taking the pandemic and COVID-19 extremely seriously, and trying to go above and beyond to really ensure that this has no impact on students' success while within New York universities.
All right, thank you. And just a final thing to add, let's look at the consulate situation, because I keep hearing more and more US consulates around the world are opening. I know we have a student from Turkey who's about to try for the visa to come and study with us starting in January. So you can be checking out the US consulates local to you. What you need to know, the most important thing is the US government has said that if you get a visa appointment and for any reason your consulate closes down and it's delayed, the fee that you pay for the visa appointment is going to be valid until December 31st, 2021. So that means you don't have to be afraid of having to pay that visa application fee a second time or a third time. You're only going to pay it once, and that's going to be good even if there is some reason that the consulate's closed, and you might have to defer to fall 2021 or even as late as spring 2022.
Great, thanks everybody. If anybody has nothing else to add, I'll move on to the next question. Again, a question about living in New York City, so maybe those of you with city campuses can take this. Where can I live if I study in New York City and choose not to live on campus? And can you give a relative idea of what that would cost?
So I'm in the unique position where I'm joining you today from our New York City campus, and I got to present on Hudson Valley and Long Island, which are both popular destinations to live if you want to study in the city but live outside of the city. In terms of living in the city, a lot of our students, while we are a Manhattan-based campus, as James mentioned, we are right next to the Brooklyn Bridge. So a lot of our students do live in Brooklyn, and that tends to be a bit cheaper than the island of Manhattan. We also have a number of students, I know this is a Study New York presentation, but they do choose to go and live in Jersey while they are studying in New York. So always an option. They get to experience two states there, as those rents tend to be a bit cheaper, again, off the island of Manhattan. If you're living on campus, that's always going to be a bit more expensive than living off campus, but keeping in mind that you're going to have all of the amenities accessible to you and a little bit more or less of a commute to your campus from your residence hall. So there are pros and cons to both in terms of what you're looking for. It just depends on the experience. The further away you live from New York, the cheaper it gets. So if you're willing to sacrifice a commute for a cheaper rent, that is always an option available to you.
And I can add just a couple quick things. And I have spoken to one student living in Woodside, Queens, with roommates, and her rent is $600 a month. Again, that's with several roommates. If you want the luxury, obviously you're welcome to find a place that costs you $2,500 a month in New York. But for the most part, when our students are arriving from overseas, we offer them an option of getting up to 30 days of temporary student housing so that they can then come here and work with us to use the student grapevine and find a nice roommate share that, again, like Kelly said, can be in New Jersey, that has trains, the PATH train and buses coming into New York City, or in the outer boroughs of Brooklyn, Queens, or the Bronx. The fantastic news about New York is since the 90s, the violent crime rates have dropped dramatically. I actually lived at a very nice brownstone apartment in Harlem for a number of years and it was a fabulous place to live. In the 90s, you probably heard those stories of annual rates of violent crime just being through the roof. And for the most part, since about 2000, lots of these crime rates have dropped like 700%, to the point where New York is often being named as the safest large city in the United States of America.
Great points. Thanks, James. Yeah, I think we've all been really impressed to see like how New York City has changed over the last 2 decades, but it's now a much more fun and safe place to live than it was when I was growing up on Long Island. Anyway, we're going down to the last couple of minutes. So if I could toss up one more question. This question says, can I get a master's degree in technology even if my bachelor's degree is not in technology? So it's a little bit specific to the schools that are offering those kinds of programs, but maybe you could speak to what prerequisites look like at your various universities, those of you who have those graduate programs.
Yeah, and I could start quickly. The answer is yes, that, yeah, even if you have any bachelor's at most of these tech schools, the tech school is going to provide the bridge courses for you so that you can join their tech master's degree. And here at Touro College, we do it where we look at a mix of any technology courses you took at the bachelor level and any technology experience you have. And then based on that, in an interview, you're going to take 1, 2, or 3 bridge courses before you join the full program. We actually had a violin major at the bachelor level do a change, take 3 bridge courses, and now she has a master's in web and multimedia design, and she's a UX UI designer now, working in a great job.
I just wanted to touch on something quickly that James said. Our program is very similar in terms of, yes, you can swap if your bachelor's degree was a different type of program than what you're looking to pursue at your master's degree. But a big piece of that is communicating your experience. So while you may have had job experience after completing your bachelor's degree, that's definitely something you're going to want to highlight on your application, because a lot of times that work experience can sometimes waive bridge courses. So that's very important when you're applying to these programs. Make sure that your CV encompasses everything that you've been able to do, both inside the classroom and outside the classroom, because that'll help you with your credits and transitioning your program, whether you're looking to go from business to technology or technology to business, and so on and so forth. So just definitely maximize what you've been able to accomplish.
Most of our master's programs have opportunities to have a live interview. It's being all done virtually right now, but that is what Kelly said. That's where you're going to really highlight what your passions are, what your strengths are, what your ultimate goals are, what your background is. We're also looking at the comprehensive view. So please apply for that, and we'll make sure that you get into the right fit for that technology degree. And there's many opportunities, as you can see. So thank you so much for that question.
Well, thanks, everybody. I think we're coming to the end of our time, and I just wanted to say thanks to all of our presenters and, of course, our attendees. We are having a series of these presentations throughout the next couple of weeks, so please check with our site and sign up for the future events that we have coming up. If anybody would like to add any closing remarks before we go, or just come back on and say goodbye, please feel free.
All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. And if you do have questions, you can contact any of the 4 of us at the emails that you see there, and we'll get you in touch with any school that you saw the logo for today in the presentation.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.